Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are solving an interesting case-based question from arithmetic progressions. Now one that uses a real-life setup. It's a school auditorium. So let's look at the question. Now the question is, a school auditorium has to be constructed with a capacity of 2000 people. Now the chairs in the auditorium are arranged in a concave shape facing towards the stage in such a way that each succeeding row has 5 seats more than the previous one. Now, and we have been asked these 3 questions. Okay, so let's break it up into 3 parts. Now, the first part, they've asked you to find out if the first row has 15 seats, then how many seats will be there in the 12th row? Okay, so let's write out what is given in the question. It's given that there are 15 seats in the first row, which means the value of A is given to be 15. The common difference, because they've said that each succeeding row has 5 seats more than the previous one. So the value of the common difference D is 5. And we need to find the number of seats in the 12th row. That's what they've asked in the question. So the value of N will be 12. And we need to find out what AN is. AN is A plus N minus 1 into D. That's the formula we use to find the nth term of an AP. Now here I have to find the value of A12, which is 15 plus 12 minus 1 into 5. That is 15 plus 11 times 5, which gives me 15 plus 55, which is equal to 70. So the answer to the first part of the question is the 12th row has 70 seats. Okay, so we are done with the first part. Now let's look at the second part of the question. Here they're asking you to find out the number of seats in the middle row. And they've said that there are 15 rows in the auditorium. If there are 15 rows in the auditorium, then find out how many seats will be there in the middle row. Okay, so let's look at the question again. Now, if there are 15 seats, that means there are odd number of seats in the auditorium. I mean, odd number of rows in the auditorium. So that means I can find the middle row by doing 15 plus 1 by 2. That is 16 by 2, or the 8th row will be the middle row. Okay, so the formula that I've used to find the middle row is n plus 1 by 2, only because there are odd number of rows in this case. Okay, so let's find out the number of seats in the 8th row. Now we know the value of A, as in the previous part, it is given as 15. D is 5, and we have to find the number of seats in the 8th row. So that means the value of N will be 8. So A plus N minus 1 into D, which is 15 plus 8 minus 1 into 5, which is 15 plus 7 times 5, which is 35. So that is 15 plus 35 is equal to 50. So the middle row will have 50 seats. Okay. Now let's look at the third part to the question. Now here they have mentioned that in the third part, they have said that if total 1875 guests were there in the auditorium for a particular event, then how many rows will be needed to make all of them sit? Okay, so they've given the total number of guests. That means they've given the value of the sum of all the rows together. Okay, so that is Sn is given to be 1875. So that's the A part to the question. So that's Sn is given to be 1875. And we know A is 15 and D is equal to 5. And we are expected to find out the number of rows, which means the missing value here is N. Okay, now the formula to find the sum of N rows is N by 2 into 2A plus N minus 1 into D. So that is 1875 is equal to N by 2 into 2 times 15 plus N minus 1 into 5. So that is 1875 times 2, or let me just do the calculation here. So I would have 30 plus 5 and minus 5. which is 1875 times 2 is 3750 equal to n times 25 plus 5n. Okay, let me open up the bracket. So 3750 is equal to 25n plus 5n squared. Okay, now let's divide both sides with maybe 5, or let me bring all terms to one side. So 5n squared plus 25n minus 3750 is equal to 0. Now let me divide throughout with 5, and I would have n squared plus 5n minus 750 is equal to 0. Now I just have to think of two numbers whose product is equal to minus 750 and sum is equal to 5. Now the two numbers would be 30 and 25. Yeah, I think that works. So n squared plus 30n minus 25n minus 750 is equal to 0. I could take out n common out, and n times n plus 30 minus 25 times n plus 30 is equal to 0. So, or n minus 25 times n plus 30 is equal to 0. So, the values of n could be 25 or minus 30. But obviously, we can't have the number of rows. Number of rows cannot be negative. Cannot be negative. Therefore, n is equal to 25. So, 25 rows are needed for to seat 1875 guests. Okay, so we've done the A part to the question. Now they've asked you to they've asked one more OR part in it. If total 1250 guests were there in the auditorium for a particular event, then how many rows will be left blank out of total 30 rows? Okay, so first we'll need to find out how many rows are used by the by 1250 guests. Okay, so we'll use the exact same method as we have done in the previous part. So we know that the sum is given to be 1250. A is equal to 15 and D is equal to 5. And we are expected to find how many rows are used by these guests. So that will be 1250 is equal to n by 2 into 2 times A plus n minus 1 times D. So that is 1250 times 2 is equal to n times 30 plus 5n minus 5. Now that's 2500 equal to n times 25 plus 5n. Let me open up the bracket. So 2500 equal to 5n plus 5n squared plus 25n. So that's 5n squared plus 25n minus 2500 equal to 0. Let me divide throughout with 5. So I would have n squared plus 5n minus 500 equal to 0. Now I have to think of two numbers whose sum is equal to 5 and product is equal to minus 500. So let me think about it. So let's take maybe 25 and 20. Yeah, I think that works. So 25 and 20. So plus 25n minus 20n minus 500 equal to 0. So n times n plus 25 minus 20 times n plus 25 is equal to 0 times n minus 20 equal to 0, which gives me the value of n as either negative 25 or n is 20. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the number of rows cannot be negative, so we ignore n not equal to minus 25 as number of rows cannot be negative. Okay, so therefore n equal to 20. So only 20 rows are being used by 1250 guests, but there were 30 rows to begin with. They've mentioned in the question that there are 30 rows in total. And how many of these 30 rows are left blank? So that will be number of rows left empty would be equal to 30 minus 20, which is 10 rows. If you have a math question that you'd like me to cover, drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to do a video just for you. Also, if you like my video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.